Hi everyone, welcome to this lovely Saturday morning of painting and chatting with me. I'm Al, also known as Kalashnikov, and yeah, let's get started. I've changed the camera setup, so I'm kind of hoping that you will be able to see what I'm doing, but do let me know in the chat if you actually, if I'm in the middle of it. But hopefully not. Again, we shall see. If you were here last week, you will see that I did add some extra details and some work. So, I added an eye, I did some extra work on the mouth and on the nose because I wasn't really happy with the texture of the face. And yeah, pretty much the same with the hand. Look at this lovely work here. I'm very proud of that. So, yeah, let's get started. Yeah, I don't see that anyone's here yet. Hopefully, a couple of friends will join me later. I have something very exciting today, painting wise. I also have a lot of ranty comments today, not painting wise. So hopefully you all can hear me and you all can see me. I'm gonna try and show this on the camera there. This is pomegranate. I ate half of this for breakfast today, and I was like, you know what? It would actually be better if I have a live pomegranate to paint from because I'm tired of using the same Pinterest images. I don't know how many of you regularly Google pomegranates, but there's like two good pomegranate images on Pinterest, and I think I've painted them all and illustrated them all like a gazillion times. So yeah, we're going with a live pomegranate today. I did take some pictures of the other half because I don't know if you can see it, but this half is kind of like in, and I wanted the pomegranate more like the seeds a little bit more out, and that was on the other half of the pomegranate, but I liked this one in general better. So I did take some pictures and I do have them in the iPad if need be. So yeah, let's get started, shall we? Yeah, so I figured that this week, since some of you had some questions about, how do you gain confidence when you're starting to paint? How do you how do you do this when you haven't painted in a really long time, or when you feel that your painting is like not good enough by any conceivable means? How do you get over those kinds of insecurities? So today I wanted to talk about the audacity of middle-class white cis men, heterosexual white cis men. So I don't know how many of you personally know one of these people. I bet that a lot of you do because they tend to be our bosses, and yeah, they are pretty much everywhere. You can't really escape them. So, have you ever seen one of those really like dubbed themselves? I think it was this week or maybe it was last week that a bunch of these people they launched like a period globe or something, and like not only was it like poorly designed, made absolutely no fucking sense. Obviously they hadn't like consulted the demographic they were trying to serve, or anything like that. But do you think that they were worried about that? No, no, they were not worried. They didn't give a fuck. They just they so if you have issues, if you're struggling with your confidence when it comes to painting, if you're struggling even like to paint or to start your art or even your crafts journey, just channel your inner like white cis heterosexual middle class man, because they've got the confidence down to a T. And of course, we could sit here and talk about how the patriarchy makes things absolutely easy for them in a lot of regards, and how the system is really rigged for them to be successful, and how, except when they have to talk about their feelings or recognize that they do tend to have a pretty easy life system-wise. But, just channel that, just go for it. This week at my day job, one of these, he presented the fruits of his labor, and I was outraged. I was really, really angry, because what he presented was really fucking ridiculous. It was fucking ludicrous, and he didn't have any, like, he didn't care. He didn't see a problem with it. He didn't think that it was a problem to present something as half baked as that, and that got me thinking. How many times we've stopped doing something, I mean, especially like queer people. How many times have we stopped, and women, how many times have we stopped doing something? How many times we haven't dressed a certain way because, oh my god, it's gonna look ridiculous, I'm never going to be able to pull it off. How many times we haven't presented our work to a prize because, oh no, I will never make it. They will never choose me, my work is not good enough. Especially the last one, my work is not good enough. Your work's never going to be good enough if you don't do it. That's like the first and foremost, kind of like the first thing to say. Hey, hi Matt. Welcome you all. Sorry, I was too caught up in my rant. I wasn't looking at the chat. But yeah, like, just that kind of like, I don't want to say Oxbridge, but I want to say Oxbridge, and I'm absolutely butchering that, and I will have you know that I'm deeply enjoying butchering that with my Spanish accent. But it's kind of confidence, like Tory government confidence, Boris Johnson even confidence. Do you think these people, they ever stop and think that their work is like not good enough? No, they don't give a shit. Like they genuinely do not give a fuck whether their work is good enough or not. And one of the reasons why I believe they, not besides like the systemic advantages that they have, besides the fact that the more money that you have, the easier your life is going to be, the whiter you are, the easier your life is going to be, etc., etc., etc. I think that one of the reasons why this kind of people, they have more success in life, again, leaving the systemic advantages to the side, is that they don't give a shit whether the work is good or not. So they just keep doing it, and then maybe someday their work will be good enough. Maybe it won't, and it will just kind of like, leech the system's advantages for the rest of their lifetime, and we will have to put up with it. But yeah, we need to do that more. Fat people, queer people, black people, immigrants, everyone who's ever faced some kind of disadvantage. And I can tell you that it's really, really hard not only to keep believing in yourself, but to not kind of like allow yourself to be beaten up by a system that's going to make your life extraordinarily fucking difficult for no good reason. Especially when you see that other people conquer things where you feel that you failed. This is very hard, and I acknowledge this. But I also think that, we need to kind of like try and channel some of that confidence there. We need to try and allow ourselves that confidence. It's a fake it till you make it kind of thing. So, thanks, Matt. Oh, and thanks for the tongue comment. I'm really proud of this tongue. But yeah, I think that there's something to learn for us from their kind of confidence. And it's not only the fake it till you make it, it's also giving ourselves permission to make mistakes and not grovel. And just kind of like be able to sit with your mistakes. And I'm not saying that these kinds of people tend to be very reflective on their mistakes by any means. Please do not think that that's what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. But we do that. We do that a lot. We, at least I know I do, have a tendency to just sit there with our mistakes and like allow that to overpower us. So I'll give you a real life example. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. Not the day before, because yesterday was Friday, wasn't it? The pandemic has me thinking that there are no such thing as days anymore. So I was received, I don't know if you know, but I launched a Kickstarter a few weeks ago. I think 2 months ago. And actually one of my contributors is here, Matt, who single-handedly funded like half of the fucking Kickstarter because he's a fucking hero, that's why. So I had just received like the first kind of like the batch of like the printed cards to send to the people who have had backed the Kickstarter. And unfortunately, some of the cards in the deck, they hadn't printed well. And this was a joint mistake. This was partly my mistake because like I'm really overworked and I was really stressed and I didn't check the file properly. But it was also, when you're sending something to print, you do expect that the part of the pre-printing service includes that someone will check over your file. In this case, it didn't. And actually, maybe I will go into a little bit more detail about this later because I think it might be of interest in general for some of you at least. So yeah, so I sat there for a good hour, crying my eyes out, like really ugly cry, like, Bridget Jones ugly crying kind of thing. So I sat there for a good, like, yeah, I think it must have been a good hour. Thinking, oh my god, I cannot send this. What am I going to do? I'm going to have to reprint the whole thing. Blah blah blah. I can't do this anymore. I'm too overworked. I'm too tired. Oh my god, what am I going to do? When you get in that loop where you essentially cannot think of anything but your ultimate demise and how terrible everything is, and oh my god, I will never do anything worthy with my life. I'm a mess. My life is a mess. It was like a proper kind of like, a proper meltdown. So thankfully I have really good friends who reminded me that, hey, I'm in a very hormonal time of the month. I wouldn't be this harsh on literally anyone if one of my friends came to me and told me, I did this Kickstarter or this Indiegogo or this crowdfunding thing, and the final thing has arrived and there's an error in the print and it's partly my mistake and I'm useless, blah blah blah. I would never ever in my life allow any of my friends to say, such shitty things about themselves, their work and their value. But there I was saying these things about myself. Hi Nina, thank you. I'm really proud of my makeup today and this choker, like, I'm looking amazing. So yeah, anyway, I was sitting there saying things to myself that I would never ever say to any of my friends. And that a white cis heterosexual middle class man, a Tory man, an Oxbridge man would never say to themselves. And this got me thinking, it's fine to sit with your feelings, it's fine to cry your heart out if that's what you need at that point in your life, but also, why do I have to do that? What's the point, really? If people around me, if these kinds of people are out in the world not giving a shit whether their decisions kill people or not, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't give a shit if your decisions are going to kill people, please don't kill people, that's not nice. I mean, I'm all for the French Revolution. But back to the point, if they can just glide through their lives, if they can just be there with such confidence, with such poise, I suppose would be the word too, why can't we? Why can't you? Why can't I? Why must we beat ourselves up for every little easily fixable mistake? What's the point? What are we gaining? Are we throwing a self-pity party? Are we throwing a crying your eyes out competition? No, we're not. It's good to do it. I'm not saying that you should ignore your feelings by any means, but at the end of the day, putting so much pressure on ourselves is that's useless. What's the point? Dude, the world is so hard on us. Like, when's the last time that the world was easy on you, especially, during this pandemic? And in general, if you inhabit this world as anything but like the perfect pinnacle of a white man, life's quite shitty. And, the queerer you are, the fatter you are, the darker you are, the worse it's going to get. Like the world's gonna beat you up. The world, yeah, the system doesn't give a shit whether you're worthy or not. And the system in general doesn't give a shit whether people are worthy or not. This is not meritocracy. That's a lie. That thing ain't real. So if that's not real, and if these people can just glide through life, not giving a shit in general or in particular most of the time, I think we should learn from that. You know, just, you don't have to be as shitty with with life as they are. I'm not saying that you should absolutely copy them in everything in this life, but I definitely think that there are certain strategies and certain kind of like behaviors that they present. They would be so useful, and this takes me back to art school actually. And yeah, talented people, we're like, I will call myself a talented person because I'm trying to get better with my internal dialogue. But yeah, talented people, we're the worst, like the worst. We just, yeah, it's like, you know when someone says, oh my god, your last artwork, it's amazing, or oh my god, this is really good, and the next thing that you say is like, oh yeah, well, you know, it was that quick thing, just took me whatever, however many hours. Or it's like when you're poor, or you've grown up being poor, and someone compliments your clothing, and you're like, oh yeah, no, it's from Primark, £5, I got it on sale. Like, it's fine, you don't have to, like, you can just take the compliment. As a matter of fact, I'm trying really hard, and I'm like messing up big time because I can't take a compliment for the fucking love of me. I'm trying really hard lately to learn how to take compliments and just kind of like sit there with a compliment. Like, I wish you could see my palette because I haven't put any new oils in today because I said, nah, I don't need new oils. Lying to myself. And it's all like from last week. And yeah, my poor oils, they're not doing great. Come on, get out of there. Yeah, what was I saying? Just, yeah, sit with your compliments, man. Allow people to just say how wonderful and amazing you are, because we are pretty fucking amazing. And I don't think we allow ourselves, or we give ourselves permission to feel amazing often enough. And you know, I think that's something we can learn from this powerful man. Is that the color that I want? I'm gonna have to go over with a red wash on it. Yeah, for sure. Oh, hi Pam. Well, whenever you join, Pam, hi Pam. I love cross stitch. I really want to get back into embroidering things. I do love that we have this little creative club going on now, and we're all, Matt, are you doing paint by numbers? Because I really want you to be doing something creative too. But yeah, I was thinking, if you guys are interested, maybe next Saturday, what I could potentially do is something more of a tutorial, or like a paint along, something really easy, if you guys want, like some really cool oil painting techniques or something. Let me know in the chat if that's something that we would like to do. So yeah, as I was saying, just cut yourself some slack. I remember when I was in art school, it was a really fascinating exercise. I went to art school. That's when I started getting into like feminism and academia and all that good stuff. So you know, when you get into feminism and all of a sudden it's like too much, everything is a system, everything is patriarchy, because it is, but you're like overwhelmed by your recent findings. So I call this like the anthropologist phase, because you're like, all of a sudden everything makes sense. And I remember observing my classmates, and it was fascinating to see how different we took criticism. So the girls, we would often be absolutely devastated by our teachers' critiques. And this is not to say that you shouldn't, if you're an art teacher, or if you're a teacher in general, that you shouldn't like critique your female students' work or your queer students' work. But it's absolutely fascinating, because we were gutted, and the guys, dude, they didn't give a shit. They were like, this is my art, You just don't understand. You see, it's much more profound than what you would ever realize. And the others like, this boys is panache, this, you know. They just didn't care. And even if they weren't like, oh, it's, you know, it's my art and you don't understand it, they weren't very affected by what our teacher said. And, you know, I started taking that on board, and it didn't work out very well because I was not in like a very good stage at that point. Oh, tapestry, that's even better. Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, it's fast consumption is a really, yeah, we can maybe talk about that a little bit later regarding like how we feel about our art and producing art at a particular pace for the modern world. But yeah, going back to art school, I didn't do great trying to like channel this panache that they had, because like I said, I was not in a good place at that stage of my life. But dude, it was good that I tried. It helped me a lot, and it puzzled my teachers. Like they absolutely were not used to a female student being sassy. You know, they were not used. And one of my teachers, Yolanda, I still ask her for references for everything because she's like amazing. And she was our history of illustration teacher, and then she was our theory of image teacher, I believe. And yeah, she absolutely had my back. Oh my god, that woman was amazing. And she was the only one who, you know, she encouraged us to love our art more, to be kinder to ourselves. And I think it's very telling that kind of like, I don't know if I also have my kind of like my internal questions here about are we as women more lenient because we're supposed to be nurturing and that's part of the patriarchy, or are we more nurturing or less kind of like harsh because we know how hard it is? Is it probably it's a mixture of both? There's absolutely no way that you can say, oh, this is due to this or that is due to that, because life is very, very complex in this system of ours. But you know, I think that being kinder to one another, being kinder to ourselves, it's a very important thing to do. And being kinder to you and your art, and the things that you create, that's only going to get you farther and farther. Like, I know that we think that if we keep criticizing ourselves, criticizing everything that we do, if we keep being hard on ourselves, then one day we will reach that ideal, that thing that we want to do, that thing that we want to be, whatever that is. Because by being harsher on ourselves, we'll have perfected our craft. No. Actually, no. And you all know me, you know that I'm ridiculously perfectionist, that I'm an absolute pain in the ass, and I'm my own worst critic too. But what I've discovered, in no small part thanks to therapy and wonderful friends, is that stupidly and weirdly enough, when you allow yourself to make mistakes, several mistakes, a lot of mistakes in a row, turns out that your art gets better. Who knew, right? Who knew that actually what we needed to do was not constantly criticize what we do and get blocked and stop doing things. It was a matter of actually allowing ourselves to make mistakes. Oh my god, yeah. Women being confident, that is a whole, like, that is a thing, that is something. I don't know how many of you in the chat identify as women, or are women or whatever, but yeah, like Nina has said, like, oh my god, you're so confident, huh? yeah, so what? Like, it's like there's this expectation that as a woman you cannot be confident because, you know, it's not proper. Um, and also there's this whole thing, especially in like kind of like the dating scene, um, or like the being single scene, because even if you're not looking to date and you're single, you're in the dating scene. There's no escaping it. Um, there's this kind of like, you know, you have to be you have to be a confident woman, but not too confident. Which is kind of like what you have to be as a woman is be this, but not too much of this. And it's very fascinating too because in the art circles and in general when you're an illustrator or when you're a woman artist or what have you, um, men get to be very confident. They can absolutely be as confident as they want to be. But girl, don't you fucking dare grovel and be like, oh yeah, my art is not good enough. Oh yeah, blah blah blah. I mean, don't too much because then they will get tired of you kind of like, you know, complaining about your own art not being good enough. But yeah, no, you don't get to be too confident. No, you have to grovel to the masters. You will never be as good as them. Um, so yeah, I mean, patriarchy, am I right? Yeah, it's really, really fascinating. Yeah, like teaching things. Wow, my English good this morning, huh? When being a teacher or when working with girls, queer people, etc., who are learning anything, I think that we have this very it's I don't want to say innate because I don't think that it's innate. I think it's absolutely taught and learned. But it's like we really want to satisfy, and I find this in myself even today. Like, um, I want my potential PhD supervisor to be proud of what I do for my MA. Why? Because I'm a girl, and also I'm a sucker for compliments. Um, so yeah, I think it's particularly important if you're in a position in which you can influence, especially young girls' lives or young queer people's lives, that you're kind. And I know that this kind of like goes against everything that we are taught, you know, and kind of like everything that I think that especially in Western society we have this kind of like this thing where you strive for perfection and nothing is ever like good enough. And I think that's really, really, really damaging. I think that's not good. That's not great. We don't like that. Because, dude, life is already hard enough. What if it's not perfect? I don't know, do you think that um Leonardo cared? That Michelangelo cared? Do you think that any of the big artists cared? First of all, they had like a fucking workshop full of people doing stuff. Second of all, girl, if you've ever read about Michelangelo, he was rage incarnated. Like, if someone didn't like what he was doing, man, he would go to town on them. Which, you know, it totally speaks about his inner insecurities and stuff. But if Michelangelo could draw hands like fucking potatoes, so can you. Like, and this kind of like goes back to some quote unquote advice that I gave you last week. Go and look at your favorite artists, your favorite songwriters, your favorite whatever work and find flaws, because the flaws are there, because no one's perfect, and pretending that perfection is achievable, that is a lie. That life doesn't work like that. Hi Pam. Oh yeah, we love Matt. Absolutely love Matt. He's a good boy, very good boy. He's generally one of the best men that I know. And yeah, going back to what Nina said is, yeah. Absolutely. I think there's kind of like there's a fear of women, queer people, acknowledging our capacities and our abilities. And I think that when I say women and when I talk about women, most of the time you can very easily swap that for black people, brown people, anyone really, who's like not white and prim and perfect, if you know what I mean. There's this expectation that we should be quiet, you know? Be quiet, don't bother anyone. I'm adding up a few more pomegranate seeds, by the way, because it's just looking a bit empty for something so easy. So yeah, there's like this expectation that we have to be quiet, not say a lot, just kind of like merge with the wallpaper. That our abilities and everything else, it has to be to the service of another. It can't exist on its own. And I think that's quite fucking tragic, actually. Because when we keep allowing the system to function this way, when we keep asking young women to make space for men, when we keep asking young black people to make space for white people to accommodate us, all that we are doing is allowing the system to continue doing exactly what it's been doing so far. And we are missing out. Like, dude, we are missing out so much. Like, we're missing out on so much art, on so many wonderful things, on so many scientific advantages. And on top of that, these people, we are missing out on our own lives. Because, again, this is not about what you can and cannot produce, what you can or cannot add to the world as we know it. I think I'm going to add a little cluster here. Yeah, I like that better. This is not about that. This is about the fact that you deserve to live a wonderful life, whether you add something to the world or not. As long as you're not out there trying to stripe people of their rights and trying to make their lives even more difficult, you deserve a good life, man. You deserve to have a good time here. Like, life is so short. And we keep beating ourselves up. That, and I do that a lot, but it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, absolutely. Like, what is perfection when it comes to an image, particularly? And I find this really interesting because Nina and I, we come from different schools of art. So where I'm from, which is the Basque Country, perfection, and this is very, very interesting, I think, perfection was not about doing a good portrait or replicating an image photorealistically. Perfection was about getting closer to the cubist ideal, which again, very male. As a matter of fact, either. Fun hit the guy. Not a big fan of Picasso either. But anyway, also he was a wife beater and a woman beater in general, so no, we don't like it. And oh my god, he didn't pay. The sex workers that he painted, the girls of Avignon, he didn't pay them. What a fucking cunt. Sorry, yes, back to the topic. And so in the Basque Country, a lot of the academic artistic ideal, it is not about doing this kind of thing that I'm doing now. Surrealism is really not the flavor of the month up there. It is about conforming to that kind of cubist ideal. Whereas I know that lower down in Spain, for example in Madrid and in Barcelona, if you go to art school there, it's much more about academicist drawing, learning traditional techniques, learning how to do the shadows, how to do shape your drawings and kind of construct the anatomy, which is something that in the Basque Country you can go that route if you want, but in general the academia there is much more about doing abstract big works of art, kind of much more modern, if you might, which it may suit you or it may not. Given that you can see what I'm painting, I bet that you can tell if it suited me or not. But it's very, very weird because very possibly a lot of people who in other parts of Spain were looking for this kind of like freedom, they would have been extremely happy in an academia in which I was drowning because they wouldn't allow me to do what I wanted to do. And this is happening more or less at the same time in the same country. So what the fuck is perfection even? Like it's defined by your local academia and by a very local and kind of like tiny group of people. So fuck that shit. Exactly. La Complutense, as far as I know, still very classical. That's in Madrid, if I'm not mistaken, and if I am not mistaken, universities, which something that can happen, trust me. So yeah, I think that's very interesting from a artistic point of view to realize that perfection, what your teachers think is good art, what your teachers will tell you that is worthy art. And when I say your teachers, I'm talking obviously about a very academic environment, but what Instagram's algorithm tells you it's good art, that don't mean shit, baby. Absolutely irrelevant. That's bollocks. What's popular now, what's perfect, good, usable, sellable now, will not make sense in a few years. Didn't make sense in the past, probably won't make sense in the future. So if your art doesn't conform to a particular social standard of what art should be, fine. Shouldn't. It absolutely shouldn't. What's the point if everyone's doing the fucking same thing? That's so fucking boring, don't you think? So yeah, be weird. Like, I think that's kind of like if anyone's starting out in, creating art, creating anything really, I think there are rules, in a way. I think that, for example, if you want to start oil painting, I think that you will need to know a few things about how the paints behave, how the medium works, how you can kind of like get more bang for your buck when you're painting, and there are certain techniques associated with that, and up to a degree I think there's no escaping that. However, there's a huge difference between learning a technique and forcing yourself to apply that technique always or in a regular manner, and also applying that technique perfectly. Yes, you're right. This is more than Middle Age. It's Renaissance, because in the Middle Age, it was more about you would have a studio that would replicate books, for example, or iconography paintings, etc. But yeah, in the Renaissance, essentially, when tattoo apprenticeships today, where you pay the tattoo artist to show you how to tattoo, and you will get some of the shitty jobs that they don't want to do. Same thing. With painters in the Renaissance. So essentially what you would have is a lot of apprentices who are doing a lot of the work that you don't want to do, because that shit is fucking boring. Like, oh my god, do you want to paint yet another fucking Madonna? Like, dude, no. Or you would give them like a sketch and then they would finalize painting it. So yeah, when we look at like the master's work, you're not looking at the master's work, you're looking at a whole workshops work most of the time, unless they were like very personal pieces or studies or whatever. You're not looking at one person's work. It is insane to think that just one person would have been able to do all that. And here's another thing, and this is, I think, particularly interesting when it comes to women painters, and I do recommend Germaine Greer, who's a bit of a transphobe, but her work in The Obstacle Race, that's about... Oh, excellent. Excuse me for a moment, please, because my internet on the other computer has decided to start buffering for some reason. Hold on. Sorry. I watch a lot of Bernadette Banner when I'm stressed, and I'm very stressed because I'm about to hand in my MA thesis. What was I saying? Renaissance artists, painters. Oh yeah, that you're looking at like workshop painting and German Greer. So when you think about female artists and like artists in general, you needed to have a lot of free time. This, shocker. But in general, I think that a lot of the, not only lack of female artistry, but how hard it is to make it as a woman in the creative field. I think a lot of that can be traced to the fact that we tend to be primary carers. We might be taking care of our husband. We may be taking care of kids. It's very hard, and I think it was, I don't know if it was Audre Lorde or Bell Hooks. No, it was Bell Hooks who said that it was absolutely invaluable to her to have time to sit in the swing in her porch and to have some time to herself to think, where she didn't have to take care of anyone, to think about, oh, what are we going to eat tomorrow? What's the shopping going to look like? Do I have to pick up the clothes? Do I have to mend the clothes? Do I have to clean the clothes? Do I have to do the house? Blah, 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 blah. This is very important, and I think this is something that we often forget, how hard it is if you're a woman and you have any kind of like caring responsibilities to make it as anything, but in particular to make it as an artist, because, it's already hard enough in general to make it as an artist if you're a man too. Like, this is, I'm not saying that it's easy to make it as a male artist, but if you're a woman, dude, you're so fucked, especially if you have like caring responsibilities. Yeah, that's another thing. I don't often think of Hitler very much because I don't, to be quite honest. I don't know if that's good or bad, but there we go. And what if we had actually allowed Hitler to be an artist? Maybe he would have been a shit artist. Maybe, very possibly, he would have continued to be a fucking racist ass. But maybe he wouldn't have gone on to become like a mass murderer. Which, is no one's fault but his. You don't have to become a mass murderer. That's a choice that you make at a certain point in life. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. That's a good point, Nia. What would have happened if we didn't shame people? Like, how many wars, how much horror and terror and awful shit comes out of the shame of men who can't deal with that kind of feeling, which is really for men to kind of like, sit with that and deal with it. It's not for me to tell them how they need to do these things. But yeah, shaming people for their art never led us anywhere good, really. Shaming people in general, I don't think it's very fair. I don't think it's fun, unless we are into that kind of play. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, there was a really famous case in Spain. I think it was about 5 years ago or something like that. I do not recall the names because I was not interested at all. But this painter, he was a really big name in the business too. He had an intern who essentially did all. Please drop their names in the chat if you know what I'm talking about, because I can't remember for the life of me. But he essentially had an intern who did all his paintings, and if I remember correctly, she was of Asian descent. I think. So I think that either her grandpas or her parents were immigrants. So there was that kind of like intersection too. But yeah, essentially he had her do all his work, and he sold it as his. And then one day she like had it, like she was up. Yeah, she was like, yeah, no, do shit. I don't wanna do this anymore, mate. And the thing finished when she painted in front of the court, and it was a very famous thing. And she painted this hugest painting in front of a fucking court because the dude was saying, no, she's just bitter because she never made it as an artist, and we had a disagreement, whatever. And then the dude essentially had to shut up because she painted perfectly and he couldn't. And he had like grown his career, his artistry, his whole image around the paintings that she did. So, there you go. Nah, shame ain't good unless it's in a kink scenario and everyone is happy with that. But yeah, I remember this case when I was reading about it. I think it was like less than 5 years ago, but it might have been more. I don't remember. Nina, if you remember, because like I don't remember the names, but I will, if I remember, I will do some research and put the link in the description below when I'm done with the live stream. But yeah, it was like that was a wild thing. That yeah, it happened in Spain, of course. And it was, yeah, everyone was pretty fucking shocked because he was a really big name in the business, and she was no one. Turns out that no one had been doing his art for years. So yeah, there you go. Food for thought, I suppose. I like how this is starting to look. This is, yeah, we're getting a groove. We're getting a thing now. So yeah. When you look at the work of masters, a lot of the times you're actually looking at the work of students. So, and this is not to kind of like shame all the masters or say that everyone in the art business is awful and terrible and uses their students to further their own careers, but art in general is such a muddy business because a lot of it's like fashion a little bit. A lot of it's not about what you do. A lot of it's about who you are or who you know, which life in general. And it's very hard to make it if you don't have the right connections, if you don't know the right people. Networking is really, really important, and it's very hard to network when you don't know anyone. So yeah. There we go. I love painting pomegranates because they are super random, and I don't have to worry. It's very, very relaxing to me. They are such organic little things, and they make me happy. And this goes back to last week's conversation about Bob Ross, happy little accidents, painting organic things. If you're just starting out painting, paint organic things. They are much more forgiving than non-organic things. For example, I honestly do not think that I could paint right now easily without a lot of suffering. I don't think I could paint like a metal structure or something like that. God, that would be traumatic. So yeah, start with organic things, organic structures, skin, fruits. Apples are great to start. I'm talking about if you're like interested in any kind of like realistic-ish painting. If you're not interested in being realistic, paint whatever the fuck you want because you're not interested in the realism, so there's no need to suffer to kind of like try and replicate a texture or something like that. But yeah, if you're interested in realism, try painting some apples. I especially love pink ladies. I think they're really pretty, and they paint really well. Not that the apples themselves paint. I wish. They're just kind of like very. I think they offer a good mix of interest and ease to be able to paint them. Yeah, I think we're getting there. What do you think? I think so. Yeah. I'm gonna finish that part there, which is kind of like ugly ATM, poor thing. I don't know if this happens to you guys, those of you who paint or in general who do crafts, but you know, when you have like a bit of a thing that you have to do and it's like you don't really want to do it and you just leave it for the end, and yeah, I do that a lot. Not very proud of that, if I'm being honest, but here we are. And this needs more white. Let's look at the chat. Yeah, Einstein's wife. Yeah, Einstein's wife. That is a good one, because she did like so much of that man's work, and no one cares and no one remembers. It's very sad. You know what we think? I need gray. That's what I need. And yeah, I've been trying to kind of like go more surrealistic with my paintings lately, and I guess I'm like during a discovery phase of some kind. So I'm really trying to produce work that it's kind of like intense, if you might put it that way. So yeah, I'm glad that the pomegranate drips into your soul. That's my work done. But yeah, Einstein's wife and what's her name? Marie Curie, who I cannot remember her whole name because she was Polish, and I cannot pronounce her surname because I can't. No, I can't remember. But yeah, oh my god, like back in the day before she actually got famous and stuff, she had such a hard time proving to people that it was her, like it was her discovery, not her husband's, you know? So yeah, actually when I was, the first time that I read The Obstacle Race, it was because I was doing this research for my degree. I was doing a degree in history of art, I think. And I was reading this because I wanted to do an essay, a paper on what it meant as a woman to be an artist, you know? And it was heartbreaking. I did it over the summer, and I spent the whole fucking summer crying because it turns out that the only women who ever made it as artists in the book, and it's a book that covers like a lot of years and you have a lot of examples, were the ones who were either lesbians, unmarried, or widows. So it was very clear to me that this was not only about like carrying responsibilities, but having a husband, having been like in a heterosexual relationship, absolutely killed all of these women's art dreams, which is fucking heartbreaking. So yeah, I may or may not have let that determine most of my dating life to date. Because you know, it's fucking gut-wrenching when you look at history and you see how many women artists didn't make it because they had a husband who was consuming their energy and their life, or who didn't agree that they wanted to be an artist. You know, it could be as simple as that. And I think that finding a supportive partner, it's very, very important, whether you're a man or a woman. But if you want to have a partnership, if you want to be in a relationship, I think it's supremely important that you find someone who supports you, because yeah, like Pam said, someone who loves you when you're dumb and someone who loves you when you're smart. So yeah, again, very, very heartbreaking. I do recommend that you pick up the book and read it. Again, that's Germaine Greer, The Obstacle Race. because it's, yeah, that's a fucking masterpiece. And I've been very curious for a really long time, and this is something that I would like to research, and hopefully if I do get accepted in my PhD, I will be able to do some research on that. But I'm dying to research trans female artists, and trans femme artists, because boy, that has to be like a whole thing. Like, in history, I mean, not only in the 20th century, which we do have some examples, but how can you tell if someone was trans in the Middle Ages? Because especially like when anonymity was such a thing, when it came to like signing on or not signing books. So yeah, that fascinates me, and it's a subject that I really want to do a deep dive and do some research on someday, because I think that's fucking fascinating. Like, if cis women, we've had such a hard time, like imagine what it must have been like for trans women. That's shit, you know? Like, if you, for example, take like black artists in the early 20th century, because I for the life of me, I do not, and I've researched this for like a relatively long time. I haven't researched black female artists specifically, but I have researched female artists throughout history, and there's no mention to black female artists in most of the books that I have. That is such a problem. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, anyway. A lot of the research that I've managed to get done on the subject is about like slaves who did art. So they were artists, but they were slaves. So you have a lot of tapestry, and you have like minor forms of art. This is a whole other debate. Like, why is oil painting like a bigger form of art, or like a better form of art than tapestry? Have you ever tried doing tapestry? That shit is fucking complex. Like, it needs a shitload of planning. Like, if I'm doing oil painting, I can very easily cover my mistakes. You don't get to do that with tapestry or embroidery. Like, yeah. One day we have to talk about like embroidery and 19th century women, and because wow, that is a whole fascinating area. Can you tell that I am a history buff? Yeah, that's what gets me going. What can we do? Yeah, I was listening to, I think it was, her channel's called Not Your Mama's History. And I was listening to some of her videos, I think it was yesterday, while I was doing some day job work. And she has a really interesting, I think it's called Movies About the Black Diaspora. And I don't know if you've called Belle, and it's about Dido Bell, who was like, she was born to a naval officer and a slave called Maria Bell in the West Indies, and then the naval officer sent her to live with her uncle, so his brother, and yeah, he was the brother, justice, or one of the chief justices here in the UK. And since at that stage slavery was legal, because this was the 1780s, I believe. I might be totally misquoting this, by the way. So yeah, he did oversee a number of cases about slavery, and he was more lenient than other judges, and there's a lot of like speculation on whether that was because he had a black niece living at his house. And there is a lot of like very interesting material from the time, where, you know, people who had never seen a black woman in like high society dress were like fucking flabbergasted when they met Dido Bell. Anyway, the movie is called Belle, and Not Your Mama's History does a much better work than I have just done about analyzing it, and I think it's very interesting regarding black and mixed people in a completely white environment. Mixed race, sorry. So yeah, that's I was just reminded because of what Nina said. Yeah. Yeah, oh my god, Sophie, that was a fucking loss. Yeah, terrible, terrible loss. I haven't heard an Oni, but I will give her a listen. And oh my god, the whole, oh, you can't do this because that is crafts, that's not art. Fuck off. Honestly, who the fuck cares if it's. Oh, I can't. Some art teachers, I swear to god. It's, again, like the audacity of white people. It's, yeah. Terrible. Okay. I think that what I'm going to do is time is it? Oh, it's been an hour. We've made it. We've made it. Congrats. So we've painted the pomegranate. What I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to continue the live stream for another half an hour because today I haven't ordered food that's going to interrupt me. Here we are, learning. I'm going to very quickly kind of like fill this with this kind of like random blue that I'm putting together, and then I'm going to go and get myself some more blue because I don't have enough in the palette that's not fucking dry. And then we're going to paint the sky and then we will be done. Exciting. As you can see, I'm running out of blue. But I will have this canvas covered before I lift my butt and go search for more blue. Yeah, okay, that's good enough. Okay, let us do some of. Shall we do that dripping or shall we do the blue first? No, I think we're gonna do the blue first. Okay, bear with me just a moment. Okay. Yep, that's good. No, that's fine. One of these days I really have to show you the palette because it's slightly disgusting. So we are going to be using this really cheap cerulean blue. If I can open it. Yeah. And we're going to be using sorry, cobalt blue dip, so like cobalt blue. And a shitload of white is what we're going to be using. And yeah, actually, sometimes mistakes increase the value of art, which I find absolutely fucking fascinating. So this is especially true of serial art. So sometimes this is not true usually immediately after the release of the art. So for example, if I were to release a series of prints, like handmade prints tomorrow, and some of them had mistakes, this wouldn't immediately increase their value. However, if I were to become a famous artist and in 50 or 60 years some museums were to buy some of my art, the collectors who sold it would probably make more money if they were able to sell one of the imperfect ones, because it would be more interesting. So yeah, that goes back to what Nina was saying about the rags that have a higher value if they have little mistakes. So, you know, at the end of the day, Bob Ross was right about all those happy little accidents. I personally love prints that are not like handmade lino cuts and etching plates and whatever that do not all look the same. I think that's super special and great. But I know that, you know, obviously collectors want like a product that they know it's going to look sort of similar to the latter one. So I also understand that. This is a very fucking muddy blue. Do you know why this blue is so muddy? It's because my palette is really dirty and it's getting mixed with the red, which is producing this kind of like blue. But we're just gonna roll with the punches, guys. What I'm doing now is I'm giving it kind of like a general coat so I can now go in and kind of like lighten or darken different areas depending on how I want the sky to. And usually that's my window, and I have see, I knew this was happening. Did you get some oil in you? No, you didn't. Excellent. That's a good boy. There we go. I really need to fix that. So yeah, I was saying that usually I have a lovely blue sky, or these last few days I've been having a lovely blue sky that I could like paint from. Today is kind of cloudy, so I don't think we're gonna use that. We'll probably just paint it from memory. On one hand, I want to fix the camera setup that I have here. On the other hand, I feel like it's now becoming a classic part of the stream where it just falls and I have to fix it. So I don't know. I'll probably fix it though. I should, really should. Yeah. And there we go. I'm gonna be so happy when we finish this fucking painting, guys. I love finishing paintings. It's very like, oh my god, the satisfaction. I love and I hate finishing paintings, because when I finish a painting, especially if I've been working on it like non-stop, this one I haven't, because we picked it up today from last week, so that's kind of fine. But I hate it, because saying, like, putting your signature on a painting, that's how I tell myself that it's done and I'm not going to like mess with it anymore. But it's like, oh, I could have done this better, oh, I should have done that better, oh, there was a mistake there. And I think that it's really easy when you're finishing a painting, it's very easy to not be able to look at the whole thing, because you've spent such a long time like painting the little details that it's really hard to fuck my life. It's very hard to distance yourself from it enough to be able to like, oh, actually that makes sense as like a general composition, you know? Oh, actually that's I did a good job, like it's okay. I find it very hard to do that with a just finished painting. So yeah. Just cover all your mistakes in clouds, guys. That's what you do. Again, honestly, I'm sorry if this is giving you tiny heart attacks. It's giving me tiny heart attacks. Do you still see me? Oh, let me check. Yeah, you still see me. Oh, thank you, Nina. I hope you enjoyed it. It was lovely having you here too. I'm very grateful to those of you who come here. I think that, of course, because we're in the middle of a pandemic too, it's like particularly nice. It's like a Saturday painting club with my friends, so I really like that. Okay, that is a lot of clouds. I like painting clouds. It's very relaxing. It's kind of like pomegranates. They're so fluffy. And I don't know, it's, yeah. I think one of the secrets to like cloud painting, it's, yeah, to like really be really messy, essentially. And kind of like allow the paint to do a lot of the work for you. and layers, loads of layers. So, you know, if clouds are really, really like layered things, you don't usually have, you know, cartoon clouds. That's really not how clouds work. They're, I think, a little like, do you know the trees that Bob Ross paints? I think they're a little bit like that. You just have to layer and allow the paint to kind of like do whatever it wants, really. Oh, do you, the audience, have a name yet? No, but you may choose your own name. I don't know. You know I'm not good with names, Matt. Especially when I'm not working. Oh, that's a nice cloud, isn't it? Also, when you're painting clouds, remember to spread them. Like, I wish I could show you the sky right now, but the iPhone, I don't think it's gonna take it. It's like clouds are not like a solid mass. You know what I mean? And also, clouds have shadows, which I find really, really interesting. And yeah, I love this blue for the sky. It's like it's like fake blue sky. I really like that. It reminds me a lot of, you know, the kind of like pop surrealism that people do with like cutouts from 60s and 70s magazines. That's what it reminds me of. So we have very fluffy clouds today, guys. These are very fluffy. Let's do some more white. Something that I think it's showing up very nicely right now, it's how plastic, how malleable the oil paint is. So this white in particular, the way it's behaving like this, it's because it's been sitting here for a week and it's very thick, and I'm not using medium. I'm applying it directly from the palette to the painting because I have enough medium underneath it. Clashing Dolls. Oh, that's really sweet. Yeah, that's what you are now. You are the Clashing Dolls. That sounds like a Russian pop band, and I'm all for that. So yeah, I was saying that if you use white, especially, it's very kind of like this titanium white. You can almost mold it on top of your painting. So I think that's a very interesting way to include like highlights and shit. Okay, I think it's time to do some cloud shadows, which what we're going to do is just grab some gray paint, if this would like to be grabbed, thank you sir, and mix it with some of this blue and some white, more blue, I think that's acceptable, and some medium, and yeah, that works, sorta, kinda. And I don't want a lot of shadows, because if you shadow your clouds too much, it starts looking like a storm, and I really want to avoid that. Lead white, not ever. One of my teachers, my last oil painting teacher, he said that he used to paint with lead white when he was young. He was like 80 when he was teaching me about 7 years ago, so I don't even know if he's still alive. But yeah, apparently he used to get it, and then of course he couldn't get it anymore once like regulations kicked in place and stuff. But no, I myself have never been able to get lead white. Do they sell it here in the UK? That's kind of dangerous. Well, or not. I mean, we sell bleach. You could potentially drink bleach and like kill yourself. So yeah, no, I've never been able to use lead white. But apparently, according to him, it's like the best white. Like it will change your life, and you will not be able to properly paint with any other white because it's, yeah, apparently it's very, very good. Because titanium, how do you say that? White, as you can see, it really kind of like picks up on the colors underneath, which is something that I love. It's exactly how I use white and why I use white. So suits me. But lead white, it's like you put it and yeah, don't undust it. It will look white no matter what pigments you have underneath. Oh really? I will have to research that and have a look at it. I mean, working with poison, that's fun. What's the worst that could happen? Yeah, we're gonna have some more blue, and then I think we're about done with the sky. Yeah, I don't dislike the sky. The sky is one of those things that until I have spent a couple of hours without looking at it, I can never tell if I like it or not because it's really confusing to me. Yeah, I think we can live with that. Let me get the other. Oh, another technique that you can use that I love using a lot, it's once you have, this is actually the reason why I started doing this is because I do it when I put my makeup on, so talk about skills transference. Is once you have your colors in place, if you grab a clean brush, clean-ish brush, you can blend them and move the paint around. So I quite like doing this because it allows me to negate some of the texture that was there before. So you know, maybe if I had been too heavy with my application or whatever, then I can just go in with a clean brush and fix that. Kent sky, yeah, kinda. Right now it's a little bit more cloudy, but yeah, this is the sky that I love when I'm roller skating by the river. Lead is tasty? Like sweet? God, that is dangerous. Isn't usually that nature makes things that can kill you not so tasty, so you won't eat them? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can live with that. If you see me moving to the side, it's because right now I have like I'm trying to see the painting without reflections, and yeah, it's not great when you have your light source right behind. Like, don't get me wrong, I love this table. It's great for tracing and other things, but also pain in the butt. Okay. Yeah, can do, I think. Okay, let's move on to the groups. Shall we? She says as she infinitely phoenix with the clouds. Oh yeah, one thing that I wanted to fix was this. we go. A little better. Better. Okay, now let's do the drips. There are a few different ways in which you can do drips. Like you can actually literally drip things. But I think this time I'm gonna do them by hand. And of course we will have to go back in and add more dimension. So we will go in with some, I think this is fuchsia, or no, this is magenta. Magenta? Magenta in Spanish, magenta in English, I think. And we're going to go in with a little bit of blue to darken it. And yeah, that does the trick, doesn't it? Yeah, that's alright, I think. When it comes to this point, I'm always like, should I do my weird pixelating technique or should I just let it be? And it's a terrible moment always because it's like if you fuck up the pixelation technique, you're going to shit all over your work. But on the other hand, it makes for like a really unique result. But I don't know. I don't know what to do. Thank you guys. I'm really happy that you like it. I think I'm gonna sit here for like a minute and just look at it and decide if I want to do the pixelation technique or not. Which, by the way, looks like that. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, actually, I can show you in the big one, can't I? Yeah, go me. So yeah, at this stage, I'm always like, should I do that? Should I not? It's sort of my signature style in a way, but who says that you should be married to your style anyway? So I quite like the way this looks right now. Maybe we could use a little bit more red here. Behold, now comes the eternal bit where you just finish with the painting until you think it's done. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's possibly done, guys. I don't think I'm gonna add anything else. I think I'm gonna leave it as it is. She says, as she continues to eternally finish with the fucking painting because God knows she will not be able to leave it alone. Come out, you bastard. Okay, we need a little bit more, don't we? Yeah, I think that's slightly better. Thanks for the audience vote, Matt. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Pam's opinion and I'm actually going to let it be because I think it's too pretty. She's too pretty, guys. I don't think that I can do it. Let's see if I don't fuck this up. Oh god, yes. That nose bit, it's been bothering me terribly. Okay, yeah. Should we sign it? I think we should sign it. What color are we going to use? I think perhaps we're going to use red. I think red is a color. Yep, let's go for red. Okay, you all know once it's signed, I don't get to touch it no more. So this is a pact between you and me. Also, for when you're signing, when you're painting La Prima and you're signing your painting, make sure that you get enough paint and enough medium so that it's really slippery, but you have enough material to not disturb what's underneath. You see what I mean, I think. Yep. Let's add a little bit more red. See what I meant about disturbing the paint underneath? Yeah. Okay, we're done, guys. Thank you so much for coming to the stream today. Yeah, always sign them. Always sign your paintings. Don't let some man 50 years in the future steal them. And yeah, very Bob Ross, all the little happy clouds. Again, thank you so much for coming to the stream today. I've had a blast. It's great painting with you guys. And I think I will see you here next Tuesday, and I will figure out what we do next Tuesday, next Saturday. Dude, my brain is mush. I swear. I mean, I am gonna go and have some lunch and hopefully finish the MA hand-in-hand thing. I have my portfolio and I want to give it just one last look, make sure that everything's okay. But yeah, again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you've enjoyed our pomegranate painting today. Please, like, share, subscribe, all the usual stuff. And I hope you have a lovely, lovely, lovely Saturday and that you keep on painting this week. See you soon.